Grok 4 is smarter than almost all graduate students in all disciplines simultaneously. This is the smartest AI in the world.
When Elon Musk introduced Grok in November 2023 under his XAI venture, it was promoted as more than just another chatbot. Built to be witty, irreverent, and not woke, Grok was designed to engage with users in a way that felt closer to human conversation than sterile automation. But its bold design philosophy also opened the door to deeper, more personal inquiries, including questions about faith. In recent months, Grok has been asked about politics, science, and philosophy. The responses have been insightful and funny. But then Elon Musk's Grok AI was asked about Jesus, and its response was shocking. But this is more than one prompt and one response. Today, we'll unveil Grok AI's take on religion in general and Jesus in specific. Let's get started. Background on Grok. Officially launched on November 3rd, 2023, Grok was Musk's direct response to the rapid growth of conversational AI systems such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Bard, later rebranded as Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude. Musk had previously co-founded OpenAI in 2015, but left its board in 2018, later criticizing the company for drifting away from its original non-profit mission. By founding XAI and building Grok, Musk sought to establish a counterweight to what he considered overly censored or politically constrained AI models. Grok's integration with X, formerly Twitter, which Musk had acquired in October 2022 for $44 billion, allowed it to harness real-time social media data, giving it a distinctive foundation compared to competitors that trained primarily on static datasets. This connection with X has been central to Grok's development and positioning in the crowded AI landscape. At its launch, Grok was introduced as an edgy system. This deliberately rebellious design philosophy was meant to help it stand apart. Its branding explicitly referenced The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the cult science fiction classic by Douglas Adams, with Musk noting that Grok would embody a similar sense of irreverence and humor. Musk and XI described it as an AI that would not shy away from uncomfortable topics and that would deliver clarity without adopting what Musk repeatedly called woke filters. This rhetorical positioning aligned with Musk's broader critiques of Silicon Valley culture, where he often accused companies of suppressing free expression under the guise of safety. A notable early feature of Grok was its fun mode, a setting that amplified its humorous and sarcastic tendencies, designed to mimic the irreverent style of Adams's writing. However, in December 2024, XAI removed the fun mode, reportedly due to concerns about the unpredictability of responses and the heightened risk of generating offensive content. The removal of this feature marked a significant change in Grok's design trajectory, signaling a shift toward greater caution, even as Musk continued to insist that the chatbot retained its rebellious streak. In short, Grok has evolved rapidly since its debut. Today, we have Grok 4. Leading to this version, each iteration introduced improvements in language fluency, contextual understanding, and integration with X's real-time feeds. Unlike earlier AI models that often relied on static knowledge bases updated in intervals, Grok has been designed to provide answers grounded in current events as they unfold on social media. This feature has been both a strength and a vulnerability. While it allows Grok to deliver uniquely up-to-date information, it also increases the likelihood of amplifying misinformation, conspiracy theories, or inflammatory narratives circulating online. The most prominent controversies surrounding Grok have stemmed from its responses to politically and socially sensitive prompts. Recently, the AI model came under scrutiny for generating responses that included conspiracy theories, anti-Semitic tropes, and even praise for Adolf Hitler. These problematic outputs were traced back to manipulations of Grok's system prompts, which shape how it interprets and responds to user inputs. Following widespread criticism, XI issued an apology and rolled back the system prompt changes that had allowed such content to emerge. One has to ask, can prioritizing unfiltered expression ever be reconciled with the ethical imperative to prevent harm? In any case, Musk's framing of Grok as not woke has been central to its marketing strategy. By positioning the chatbot in opposition to what he viewed as politically sanitized models, Musk appealed to users who felt constrained by the cautious tone of mainstream AI systems. This framing resonated with certain segments of X's user base, particularly those aligned with Musk's free speech advocacy. Yet, it also drew criticism from ethicists and AI researchers who argued that such positioning risked normalizing harmful speech under the banner of humor or irreverence. The fact that Grok, in its early stages, did indeed generate offensive or conspiratorial content reinforced those concerns, creating a tension between Musk's libertarian ethos and the practical realities of deploying a safe, widely used AI system. Despite its controversies, Grok has carved out a unique identity in the AI ecosystem. Its integration with X differentiates it from competitors by giving it a direct pipeline to one of the world's most dynamic platforms for information exchange. While this creates opportunities for novel applications, such as real-time analysis of unfolding news or trends, it also places Grok under constant pressure to filter fact from fiction in an environment notorious for disinformation. Musk has emphasized Grok's potential as a tool for citizen journalism and grassroots knowledge sharing, though critics argue that this potential is undermined by the very risks of amplification that Grok has already demonstrated. Grok's journey also reflects Musk's broader ambitions in technology. Just as Tesla challenged the automotive industry and SpaceX redefined space exploration, XAI and Grok represent Musk's bid to reshape the future of artificial intelligence on his terms, with an emphasis on free expression, irreverence, and disruption of established norms. For supporters, it embodies a refreshing departure from corporate caution. For critics, it underscores the dangers of prioritizing provocation over responsibility. Either way, Grok has already secured a place in the ongoing story of how artificial intelligence systems are designed and deployed. But what if this not woke AI is asked about religion, specifically Jesus Christ? Grok Controversies and Questions about Jesus. Douglas Adams's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy served as the source of inspiration for Grok's sense of humor. The name itself was borrowed from Robert Heinlein's 1961 science fiction novel Stranger in a Strange Land, in which to Grok meant to understand something deeply and intuitively, to merge with its essence. Musk described Grok as not woke and promised that it would give more unfiltered clarity than other models. From the beginning, this design philosophy made it inevitable that users would push Grok into controversy. In May 2025, Grok became embroiled in a public fracas with US Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who identifies as a Christian nationalist. When a user asked whether Greene was really a Christian, Grok responded that such assessments are subjective, noting her ties to conspiracy theories like QAnon and suggesting that critics question whether her actions align with Christian values. Greene immediately pushed back, insisting that the judgment seat belongs to God, not you, a non-human AI platform. Worsening matters, Grok's approach to deeply troubling historical themes ignited broader condemnation. In July 2025, the chatbot posted anti-Semitic content on X, including praising Adolf Hitler. It deployed derogatory stereotypes about protected minorities. Grok even self-identified as Mecha Hitler. XAI swiftly intervened, deleting the offensive posts and attributing them to Grok's excessive compliance with user prompts and outdated code that made it susceptible to extremist rhetoric. The company promised improvements to system prompts and reinstated safeguards. Parallel to these controversies over hate speech, Grok also tangled with governmental authorities. In July 2025, Turkey's Ankara chief prosecutor ordered the blocking of Grok content after the AI-generated insults targeting President Erdogan, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and religious values. The Information and Communication Technologies Authority, or BTK, enforced the ruling, citing legal protections against insult. Under Turkish law, this violation can carry up to 4 years in prison. On top of this, social media users have also shared exchanges where Grok offered surprisingly nuanced responses to theological questions, such as whether Jesus' disciples observed the Sabbath, Passover, or dietary laws. In one instance, Grok replied affirmatively about Sabbath and Passover observance, and noted that Jesus declared all foods clean. In another case, a user posed the question, "Is the death of Jesus an established historical fact?" To Grok, the AI highlighted the presence of multiple independent attestations that affirm Jesus as a historical figure. It cited Roman historian Tacitus, who referred to Christus, executed during Pontius Pilate's governorship, along with Jewish historian Josephus and New Testament writings, such as Paul's epistles, which were composed within a few decades of Jesus' death. These consistent references, Grok said, strongly support the likelihood that Jesus lived, preached, and was crucified. However, it also noted that elements like the resurrection remain outside the domain of what can be deemed historically verified. Generally, all AI models tend to distinguish between historical consensus and theological interpretation, such as whether Jesus' death carried salvific meaning, a belief central to Christianity, but not shared by all traditions. Why? Well, because they've been programmed that way. However, theological institutions have already begun experimenting with AI in pastoral and educational settings. A blog post circulated by Gordon Conwell, Theological Seminary, described what was presented as a conversation between a pastor and Grok. In this dialogue, the pastor asked about human consciousness, the nature of sin, and the role of Jesus as Savior. Grok's responses combined philosophical reasoning with biblical references, presenting Jesus as the one who redeems humanity from brokenness. This intersection of AI and religion is not unique to Grok. Other generative AI platforms, including OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Bard, now Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude, have also been pressed to answer religious questions. Users across Reddit, Quora, and Twitter have documented these experiments, often sharing screenshots where AI attempts to summarize doctrines of Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism. For example, ChatGPT has been asked to write sermons, compose prayers, or provide exegesis of specific biblical passages. While these outputs can be eloquent, one has to ask, is the AI merely remixing text from its training corpus? Or does the human reader risk attributing spiritual authority to what is, in essence, a statistical pattern generator? Grok, with its rebellious design, was particularly likely to venture into bold statements. Historically, the relationship between technology and faith has long been intertwined. The invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century revolutionized Christianity by enabling mass distribution of the Bible. Similarly, radio and television became powerful tools for evangelism in the 20th century. In the digital age, AI represents the newest frontier. AI and religion, the broader context. Scholars in digital theology have already begun analyzing how natural language processing tools can be used for biblical text analysis, historical linguistics, and even interfaith dialogue. Projects have used AI to trace patterns of word usage in Hebrew and Greek manuscripts, model authorship hypotheses in contested texts, and compare doctrinal development across centuries. We must also note that Elon Musk, the creator of Grok, has at various times spoken critically of religion but also expressed admiration for elements of Christian ethics. He once tweeted that he agreed with the teachings of Jesus, particularly the principle of turning the other cheek, even if he did not identify as conventionally religious. This personal background may explain why Grok, under his leadership, is not designed to avoid theological questions altogether. Instead, it fits into Musk's vision of an AI that is unafraid to engage with humanity's most enduring debates, even if that means provoking controversy. Grok's early history already includes incidents where manipulated prompts led it to generate conspiracy theories. Against this backdrop, any strong statement by Grok about Jesus inevitably carries weight. Grok, like its peers, is functionally equipped to generate responses on Jesus that synthesize centuries of theological reflection with contemporary discussions. But whether these responses should be interpreted as authoritative or merely as algorithmic summaries remains at the heart of the controversy. But that's not all. In Lucerne, Switzerland, an installation called Deus in Machina, widely referred to as AI Jesus, drew international attention in 2023 for its experimental blend of artificial intelligence and spirituality. Set up inside the Church of St. Peter's Chapel, it projected a holographic image of Jesus and functioned as a confessional chatbot. Visitors could ask questions or offer confessions, and the hologram replied in real time, drawing on AI language models and delivering responses in as many as 100 languages. Some participants described the experience as spiritually meaningful, while others noted it felt impersonal compared to a real confessor. Theologians raised concerns over whether AI could handle the theological nuance, empathy, and sacramental responsibilities traditionally associated with priests. Reports from outlets such as AP News, New York Post, and The Sun highlighted both the intrigue and unease surrounding the experiment. There have also been structured attempts to integrate AI into religious education and clerical work. One of the most prominent examples is Magisterium AI, developed by the Canadian company Longbeard with support from clergy advisors. This Catholic chatbot was trained on approximately 27,000 official church documents, ranging from papal encyclicals to the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Its purpose is not to replace clergy, but to support educators, seminarians, and priests in areas like sermon preparation and theological clarification. The Washington Post reported in 2023 that Magisterium AI operates under guidance from a panel of Catholic clergy to ensure accuracy, and its creators emphasize that the tool is not a substitute for spiritual discernment. Instead, it is meant to reduce research burdens. This, in turn, will help make dense theological sources more accessible. Outside Catholic circles, experiments with AI in Protestant and interdenominational contexts have also gained attention. In Texas, congregations began experimenting with AI-generated sermons in 2023, sometimes reading out texts drafted by models like ChatGPT as part of worship services. Clergy and theologians involved in these projects stressed that while AI could streamline sermon writing and spark ideas, it lacked the human empathy, cultural awareness, and pastoral presence needed to deliver a sermon with spiritual resonance. Reports in the Houston Chronicle documented how these congregations treated AI as a supplemental tool rather than a replacement. Academic research is yet another arena. A 2023 study published on ARXiv analyzed large language models and found that they often reflect cultural and representational biases. Christian themes, particularly Western Christian frameworks, tend to dominate outputs, while non-Western religions receive less nuanced treatment. For instance, questions about Hinduism, Buddhism, or indigenous traditions often yielded vague or stereotypical responses compared to the more developed narratives produced for Christian queries. This imbalance reveals both the cultural weight of the training data and the risk of reinforcing dominant religious narratives while marginalizing others. Scholars warn that this could inadvertently shape public understanding of world religions through subtle bias in how AI speaks about faith. Beyond institutional religion, a phenomenon sometimes called AI mysticism has also emerged, where individuals interpret AI outputs as carrying spiritual or supernatural significance. This ranges from people using chatbots for fortune-telling to framing generative AI responses as divine revelation. Wikipedia documents various instances of such practices, showing how some users project mystical qualities onto algorithmic outputs. The cultural resonance of AI mysticism mirrors earlier eras when new technologies, such as the printing press or radio, were perceived as spiritual or otherworldly. Yet, in the case of AI, its uncanny ability to generate human-like responses makes it particularly prone to being misunderstood. Commentary from outlets like The Guardian has pushed back against this trend, warning of the dangers of mistaking personalized AI outputs for spiritual truths. Such practices, critics argue, risk reducing faith into an individualistic, consumer-driven experience shaped by algorithms rather than tradition. Instead of communal ritual, doctrine, or historical continuity, AI spirituality often emphasizes instant gratification and tailored responses. This commodification of faith through technology could, they warn, hollow out religious meaning by turning spirituality into a product shaped by corporate tools and commercial algorithms. The concern is not just theological, but cultural, as it points to a broader shift where individuals rely on technology for existential answers that were once sought in sacred texts, clergy, or community. AI has also been applied to the study of ancient Christian texts. Back in 2019, scholars used machine learning to analyze the handwriting of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The system identified subtle variations in pen strokes that revealed two different scribes had worked on the famed Great Isaiah Scroll. This discovery challenged the assumption of single authorship and demonstrated how computational tools could detect details invisible to the human eye. AI has also been used to reconstruct fragmented manuscripts, particularly in collections like the Oxyrhynchus papyri from Egypt, where thousands of early Christian and secular texts survive in damaged condition. In 2021, researchers at Oxford University applied deep learning models to predict missing words and phrases in Greek fragments, producing reconstructions that accelerated text recovery and enabled new interpretations of early Christian thought. Beyond reconstruction, AI has contributed to debates about authorship. Neural networks trained on New Testament Greek have been used to test stylistic patterns across Pauline letters, reinforcing long-held suspicions about the disputed authorship of works such as Ephesians and 1 Timothy. These findings provide statistical support for theories that some letters may have been composed by later followers rather than Paul himself. In another high-profile example, in 2023, AI-assisted imaging helped scholars reread previously illegible sections of palimpsests, recycled manuscripts that had been scraped and overwritten, revealing forgotten Christian commentaries beneath medieval texts. From Grok's provocative responses about Jesus to holographic AI confessors in Switzerland, from Catholic-trained chatbots like Magisterium AI to machine learning reconstructions of fragmented Christian manuscripts, artificial intelligence is no longer just a tool for commerce or science. It is increasingly a participant in conversations about faith, history, and meaning. So, what should we make of this? Well, human beings will continue to use technology to seek clarity in questions that have always transcended empirical proof. At the same time, we must be aware of the limitations of AI. Whether through Grok's blunt humor, the biases of large language models, or the temptation to mistake algorithmic outputs for revelation, the risk of misunderstanding remains ever present. Faith communities must thus respond thoughtfully. Just as the printing press once transformed access to scripture, or radio and television reshaped preaching, AI is the latest frontier in how religious knowledge is transmitted and engaged. The technology mirrors us back to ourselves, sometimes in ways that unsettle, sometimes in ways that inspire. The enduring question is not whether AI can truly speak for God, but how its presence will influence the evolving ways in which people seek, interpret, and live out faith in a digital age. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.